All right, guys, today we are going to look at lesson 5.1, day 2. So we're going to continue looking at ratios and ratio tables. So if we start with example 1, it says you make flubber using the ingredients shown. Write the ratio of cold water to glue. So if I look, cold water is 3/2, and we're comparing that to glue, which is 2. So our ratio is 3/2 to 2. So it says find and interpret the value of the ratio in part A. So in order to interpret the value, we need to set that up as a division problem. So it's 3/2 divided by 2. And I'm going to write that as 2/1, so it's a little bit easier. So remember, when we are dividing fractions, we need to do keep, change, flip. So I'm going to keep the first one as 3/2. I'm going to change my division sign to multiplication. And then I'm going to flip the second one to be 1/2. So my value ends up being 3/4. All right, looking at example 2, it said find the missing value in the ratio table, then list the equivalent ratios. So in order to find the equivalent value, remember when we're looking at ratios, these have a multiplicative relationship. So to get from 3 to 12, I would need to multiply by 4. So I need to do that same thing to the bottom. So I need to do 3/4 times 4. So if I do that, right, those 4's can cancel out, and I end up getting a value of 3. All right, I'm going to go back to the first one here, and I'm going to go from 3 to 15. And to get from 3 to 15, I'm going to do times 5. So I need to do the same thing below. So 3/4 times 5 would give me a value of 15/4. Okay, then looking at this last one, going from 15/4 to 5/4, well, I can see here they divided by 3. So if I do the same thing up here to the numerator and divided by 3, 15 divided by 3 is 5. So now that I have the ratio table complete, it said to list the equivalent ratios. So my ratios are 3 to 3/4. The next one is 12 to 3, 15 to 15/4, and 5 to 5/4. All right, same thing for the next question in this example. So if I'm looking at this relationship between kilometers and hours, well, to go from 4 to 16 hours, I would multiply by 4. So if I do the same thing to the numerator, 5/2 times 4, I can simplify here. So it'll be a 1 and a 2, so that ends up being 10. Okay, well, now to go from 10 to 5, right, that's easy. I can divide by 2. So if I do that here, 16 divided by 2 would give me 8. So if I list my equivalent ratios, I get 5/2 to 4, 10 to 16, and 5 to 8. All right, moving on to example 3. All right, example 3 says you mix 1/2 cup of yellow paint for every 3/4 cups of blue paint to make 15 cups of green paint. How much yellow paint do you use? So in order to solve this, I set myself up a table. So the information that I have right now is I have 1/2 cup of yellow, and I have 3/4 cups of blue. Okay, I know my end goal is to end with 15 cups of green. Well, right now, if I have 1/2 cup of yellow and 3/4 cups of blue, I'm going to give myself a common denominator here. So that's 2/4. So 2/4 and 3/4 would add to 5/4. All right, so from here, again, my goal is to get to 15. So to do that, in this next step, I am going to multiply by 4, because if I do that, then I have a total of 5 cups of paint. So 3/4 times 4 is 3, and 1/2 times 4 is 2. Okay, and again, we can see 2 plus 3 equals 5. All right, and now, to get from 5 to 15, I can see that I need to multiply by 3. So if I do that to my other ones, 3 times 3 is 9, and 2 times 3 is 6. So our answer, it says, how much yellow paint do you use? I use 6 cups of yellow paint. All right, now it is your turn to try some of these problems. So go ahead and pause the video here, try the problem, and then when you're ready, play the video back to see if you answered those problems correctly. All right, so for problem A, it said you mix 2/3 of a teaspoon of baking soda with 3 teaspoons of salt. Find and interpret the value of the ratio of baking soda to salt. So if I look at my ratio, it was 2/3 to 3. And this said to find and interpret the value. So to do that, we know we need to divide those problems. So it's 2/3 divided by 3/1, which when we do our keep, change, flip, it becomes 2/3 times 1/3. So we end up with a value of 2/9. For problem B, it said that we have half a teaspoon of essential oils for every 12 tablespoons of jojoba oil. Find and interpret the value. So here, we're doing the same thing. So this time they said to use the jojoba oil to essential oils. So that would be 12 to 1/2. So again, to solve this, I need to divide. So I need to do 12/1 divided by 1/2, which then we do our keep, change, flip. So it's 12 times 2. So we end up getting a value of 24. And then our last one here says a satellite orbiting Earth travels 14.5 miles every 3 seconds. How far does the satellite travel in 3/4 of a minute? All right, so for this one, I made myself a little ratio table. So I know that I'm looking at miles and I'm looking at seconds. So this went 14.5 miles in 3 seconds. So in order to solve this, right, I want to get to 3/4 of a minute, which 3/4 of a minute I know is 45 seconds, right? So my goal is to get to 45 seconds. All right, so in order to do that, I'm going to go from 3 to 15. So I'm going to do times 5 to get to 15. So if I do 14.5 times 5, that was 25, 22, 12, move my decimal. Oops, what did I do wrong here? Oops, 7. Sorry about that. That should be 7. So I get 72.5. And then to get from 15 to 45, I know I need to multiply by 3. So then I'm going to do 72.5 times 3. Which is 15, 7, 21, move my decimal, so 217.5. All right, guys, that is it for the notes today. So you can go ahead and put your notes away and head back to the agenda to see what we are doing next.